And we're back, people. Another installment of Highly Unoffended. You're thinking it, we're probably going to say it. Welcome back, people. Hope summer was good. Hope it treated you well. We're back here in the seat. Come for the ride tonight with us because we're going far, like usual. We're taking in places and we don't care. This tonight's show is dedicated to Mr. Charlie Kirk. He transitioned this afternoon, shortly a while ago. From he was at a college campus doing what he does, trying to keep America wholesome and real. And unfortunately, things got bad. So we're sending our prayers out to his family. We lost a real one tonight, so this show is in memory of him. Never met the man, but my man was a real dude. Tonight tonight we got a really good guest tonight, author, ex-law enforcement. Riding with me tonight, shotgun, we got White Boy Tim. Tim, what's up?
What's up, brother?
Hey, White Boy Tim in the house. Yeah, we got Tim in the house. So yeah, Tim, man, we lost one tonight. How you feeling about that?
I gotta admit, I'm a little off center. We were talking about it before we went live, and I said to friends of mine, I don't know. I said to Greg, I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like I lost someone I knew. This one just, as they say, just hit different. I think because he was legit.
All the values we shared with a guy like that.
Like Michael Knowles was saying, he fought fairly. He just, and like Greg was saying on the way up here, it was an open playing field. You know, he allowed you to vent. He was firm about his opinion, but he allowed you to share yours.
He wasn't afraid to volley the ball.
That's right.
Wasn't afraid.
The way it ought to be. And
so tonight's to you, Mr. Kirk. Thank you for what you gave us. Thank you for bestowing your knowledge on us. And like I said, we lost a real one. So tonight, who do we got in house? We got Mr. Greg Dillon. He wrote a book. What year did the book come out, Greg?
Came out about 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. It's called The Thin Blue Lie. L-I-E, not lying. Because people are thin blue line. No, dude. Anytime I talked about the book, people are like, line? I'm like, no. But I tried.
Happens all the time, Jimmy.
All right, so good. Welcome to the show, Greg. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You know what I mean? He played hard to get, but we rallied him in. You know.
What do you say about stalking and talking? That's
only one letter apart. Talking to stalking, only one letter apart.
Persistence pays off, right?
You know, or if not, you end up on the docket. You know what I mean? I don't want that. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for coming here tonight. And, it's unfortunately a somber evening for, like-minded cats, across the nation. And,
that hit hard.
Yeah, man. When somebody hit me with a text, and I thought it was a joke at first. And then when it flashed across and it said that, I was like, oh, damn, guess it's not a joke. And
no, and I'm surprised like Tim. I didn't think it'd have the impact on me emotionally that it did because I wasn't like an avid follower of the guy, but I did admire and respect him. And to think that he was killed for having strong opinions about his values and his morals and his beliefs to be assassinated like that is just unconscionable. And I really felt terrible. Yeah.
I think a large part of it was because his values are Christian centered, It's
but he wasn't Bible selling though. That's what I kind of liked about his style.
Yes,
he
wasn't his way or the highway. He was open minded, but he held to his core principles and beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, that's like I said, definitely we lost a real one, man, and I think somebody's gonna have to, it's gonna be a heavy torch to pick up. And his family, wish them, the best in these horrible times.
Amen.
Crazy shit. But you know what I mean? I guess let's put up a toast for that man right there.
Yeah.
Let's put up a toast from Highly Unoffended and Greg Dillon to Mr. Kirk. Yes. So, like I said, welcome back to the show, Greg. So glad that you were here, Greg. Where you? Where'd you spend your childhood at? Where were you? Where you
I
from?
grew up in New Haven.
All right, money craving, money craving.
I lived the first 24 years there on the boulevard before it became El Grasso Boulevard, back when it was just the boulevard. Yeah, and the neighborhood evolved. I think primarily it was Italian, Irish, Jewish when I was born, and then it changed over time. And by the time I left in my mid-20s, it was pretty well integrated neighborhood, I would say.
What time? How old were you when you left there?
24. I moved to Brantford to go to the Brantford Police Department
Nice.
when I graduated from college. So yeah, that was my big move. I went from living on the third floor of a 3-family house to moving into an apartment of a 3-family house on the third floor. So nothing really changed other than the location.
Lateral move.
Yeah, right.
How long were you out there?
About 5 years. When I was out there, I had enough work experience to apply to the FBI, which was sort of a childhood ambition of mine to make it to the
G-Man.
FBI. Yeah. And the process takes some time. It was about 1.5 years, almost 2 years from applying to actually getting into the academy. So I left Brantford in 1985 and started at Quantico in August of '85. Yeah.
That's back. I don't know if they're still doing it. I think they're still they look for engineers, lawyers, people with kind of like specializations, but particularly engineers, lawyers.
These kids think a CJ thing is something they looked at. They don't care nothing about a CJ career.
Well, at the time, they used to have categories of when you applied. You were plugged in. So one was accounting.
Yeah,
Accounting
chasing the money, baby.
Yeah. One was law, if you had a law degree. Then there was military/law enforcement.
Yeah, that's right.
Then I think it became it was like computer technology, that type of thing.
Everything's IT now.
Foreign language specialist, and then there was a general miscellaneous, which was like school teachers, insurance agents, whatever. That was like the catch-all.
Yeah.
And so that's how they kind of funneled you through categories. Yeah.
Nice. So, you good, brother?
Sorry about that.
You suck. I kill you. So 85 you got in.
Yes.
What year was Reagan shot?
Oh, please. I didn't think it was going to be a pop quiz for a trivia night. I don't remember.
85. Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it was pre or post.
All right. So 85. How long did he do it? Where'd you land with them?
So out of Quantico, my first office was Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay.
So close to Washington, D.C., but technically a different office.
Half an hour metro ride, I think, right?
I'm sorry?
About a half an hour metro ride.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can ride your bike probably faster than you could drive there, but with the traffic. But so your first office was generally considered a small to medium-sized office. I think 60 agents total in the office, and probably another 60 clerical and technical support. While I was there, I was anticipating my next transfer, which usually came within 3 to 5 years. And that was supposed to be to a top 12 office, a top 12 office being the 12 largest offices in the country.
Yeah, major cities.
Yeah. So New York was always the largest by far. Washington field office was the second largest. And I used to have it memorized back then, but I think it was like then Los Angeles,
LA,
Miami, and that kind of a thing.
All the big metro cities.
Yeah. So my game plan, when I applied, my biggest concern was, how long will it take me to get back to New England? Because that's where all my family and friends were in Connecticut. And I was an only child, so it wasn't like a military brat that had lived in 5 different states by the time they're 16. And they said, well, if you want to get back to New Haven, within 3 to 5 years, you'll either end up in New York, Newark, or Boston. So I was like, that's great. Any one of those would work for me. I'll be like an hour and a half, 2 hour ride back home. While I am starting, I think, my second year at the Alexandria field office, a decision is made at headquarters level that there's no need to have a small office in the shadow of the second biggest office in the country. So, like, I don't want to say overnight because, we were alerted to it, but in a short amount of time, I went from a 60 agent office to a 600 agent office, only having to, travel another 40 minutes to go there. But unfortunately, it became my second transfer, which now ruled out my next transfer for the next 10 to 15 years. So here I am counting on this second transfer going back to New England. And then it sprung on me that, no, you'll be here another 10 to 15 years before you're eligible for your next transfer. Now, at this point, I'm several years in, and I'm thinking, this doesn't bode well for me getting back to my home state. So, I made the decision to look for another job opportunity. And fortunately, there was a opening in the chief state attorney's office, which I accepted when I was offered it. And that was when I was coming up on my 5-year anniversary with the FBI. So.
I thought that wasn't like you lost some crazy time or anything. So yeah, that's good.
Right, but I was sort of at that cusp where, like, do I stay or do I go, sort of a thing.
Yeah, you're committed, so is it worth the loss to walk out?
Yeah, but I mean, Jimmy and Tim, in all fairness, having the pedigree of being in the FBI probably got me the job in Connecticut. I had the credentials now to.
Yeah.
I was the youngest inspector that they had in the office, but probably because of my, background, having 5 years on the PD and 5 years in the FBI, I was an attractive enough candidate to get hired. So.
Time well spent in that regard.
Yes. Yeah.
So back home we travel.
Yeah.
Back home we travel. That's a good thing, because like I said, I've had friends that, have gotten picked up by the feds, and, they never, one of my friends, she left and she's in Cali and she's never coming back, and it sucks because, we talk all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people, if they get married and have a family, then it's a great thing. But if you're a bachelor and you're down there and you're kind of thinking, gee, how many more months before I can transfer back to Connecticut? And then all of a sudden they pull the rug out and say, 10 to 15 more years. And it's like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. What a kick in the fucking shin.
Yeah.
So we came back to Connecticut. And what kind of work were we doing here with the department?
Well, initially, the chief state attorney's office had a couple of different
units, divisions,
bureaus, and the opening was in the white collar crime bureau, which wasn't a great fit for me. I had been working violent crimes in the Washington field office. I was on the SWAT team there, and here I am as basically a kid who can't balance a checkbook, and now you're going to put me into the financial crimes bureau. I had some good mentors. I was able to figure it out over time, but I wasn't really comfortable. I mean, it wasn't my sweet spot.
Wasn't where you wanted to be.
Not really. No. It was. I felt like an accountant to a degree. That got to write an occasional arrest warrant.
What a good badge and a gun.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So an opportunity came up to work on a one-man grand jury out of Hartford on a police corruption case, which was a great experience. In Connecticut, they very, very rarely have a grand jury. It's just not really built into the legal framework. They're rare. So to have the chance to work on something like that was a great opportunity. I got to meet some really top-level detectives in the state police and Hartford Police Department. And as it was winding down, they decided they were going to create a fugitive squad. And I was thinking, bingo, here's my chance to make a jump for the better. So I applied, and as I like to tell the story, there were 2 openings, and I got both jobs because not one other inspector had any interest in doing that type of work. To be fair, most of my colleagues were retirees from another police department.
So they wanted to steal money.
Well, I mean, they were already in their 50s or 60s.
They already been there, done that.
They were comfortable working straight days, weekends off, jacket and tie type of a thing. I knew what the work was going to be like, and it was going to be odd hours working in.
Yeah, your phone ain't ringing on a Saturday.
And working in low income areas,
He means ghetto.
Yeah.
You can say this highly unoffended. It's okay.
I keep
You can say working in the hood.
forgetting.
You said low income. I like
It's highly unoffended, Greg. Just let it rip.
Well, these guys, my colleagues obviously weren't looking for that type of work at their age.
You've been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Right. So I was, I think, still in my 30s at that point.
Oh no,
So-
you still want to chase dudes.
Exactly. So that was my sweet spot, and I was happy to have the opportunity to go.
You want to
into it.
chase dudes, and these guys want to chase the white out falling off their desk.
Basically.
So, you know what I mean?
Basically.
So it's different. It's a different thing.
Yeah. They like knowing that their lunch hour is from 12 to 1 every day. you know?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
So you went over to the new unit.
Yeah. So I fortunately they opened it up to outside employment, and a Hartford homicide detective that was about to retire that I had met during the grand jury investigation. I encouraged him to apply, and he did, and he was hired. So Steve Cummick and I became the original fugitive squad. And over time, it ended up being increased to 6 inspectors as opposed to 2. As I used to tell my boss, it's hard to surround a house with 2 guys. So I need some bodies. And so eventually we got to flesh out the squad.
So you were chasing guys statewide.
Statewide, yes. And when we were recruited or invited, I guess, by the FBI to join their fugitive task force, then obviously our numbers increased dramatically, because now we had several agents, several state troopers, and a couple of city detectives to round out the fugitive task force. And by joining the fugitive task force, we were technically had federal arrest powers. So we wouldn't normally go out of state, although at times we would. But we would send leads out to other states and even other countries, depending on the case, to have those leads covered to see if our information was good and those fugitives were in fact where we thought they were.
How far did you ever go to get a fugitive? Out of the country?
For extradition, Puerto Rico, Bobby was the farthest, I guess, down south, out to Texas. I never made it out to the West Coast, but New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, that type of a thing. The marshals would usually do any out of country extraditions for us. We had fugitives caught in Canada, Mexico. So they would tend to take over for that part.
What do you think was the best tool you had back in those days? Unlike now, we got databases, and we can run bills, and we got LexisNexis, and we got so many little doohickeys, and we got so many doohickeys and pinging phones, and
I know.
What do you think was the best thing for you guys?
It's funny. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say because it's so old school.
No, I want to hear it. That's why I'm asking.
Well, my big thing was I would try to find any place that person had some sort of an official encounter. So if he was on probation, I wanted his whole probation file. If he had done time, I wanted his whole prison file. Sometimes they wouldn't turn it over. You'd have to go there physically and just review it yourself. He'd been arrested. Give me every police report.
Where?
Give me his booking photo. Give me his data arrest sheet. Try to get every possible piece of information, never knowing what phone number was recorded, what address was listed, what associate or who bonded him out, emergency contact. You never really knew until you started to amass all this information, and then you started to realize, okay, there are leads here that have never been explored, and now here's my opportunity to, take a crack.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tell people, I teach the BEA class for the state here, and I tell people
And
here,
when you say BEA, Jimmy, just so everyone
bail
knows.
enforcement agent,
Okay. Yeah.
and I tell people the easiest way, I think, without all the gazintas, find somebody that would behoove them out of the picture.
Yeah.
Baby mama's new boyfriend, baby mama's mama. And people ask me, well, why would you ask her? I'm like, well, who paid for the school clothes?
Yeah.
Who paid for the Chuck E. Cheese party? Who paid for the Christmas gifts? who paid for the Easter outfit. And if that guy ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
his kid's grandmother hates him.
Yes.
And guess what? And I don't know how many times it's easy to roll them because, and you know, I've told babies, I've told the grandmas, hey, if you get him out of the picture, she might find herself a good
There
guy.
you go.
Yeah.
But you ain't gonna find a good guy with this guy
Yeah.
hanging, malingering
Yeah.
around, and they're like,
Good
okay.
point. Yeah.
Mhm.
And next thing you know, they're calling. He's at the house, and you know what I mean. And
That's all it takes is that one call.
I tell people the cue to finding somebody is find somebody that he's done wrong.
See,
And-
my whole thing was find who he's staying with because they're the one that's going to sign the lease. They're the one that's going to rent the car. They're the one that's going to pay the phone bill. They're the one that's going to be on the utility bill. So if I could figure out who their squeeze was at that
Mhm.
moment, I could usually figure out where they were.
Yeah.
So that was sort of my
Yeah.
thing. You had to go one layer deeper than
Yeah.
to do that.
Or like I like siblings myself. Like if you go to a house and you see siblings, like if you see a woman in like scrubs, she works hospital convalescent, she does hard work. You see a dude in uniform, and one thing I've learned is, no, any hardworking sibling hates a scrub sibling because he knows that he keeps milking the parents for money, and they
taking
keep.
advantage of people.
So guess what, man? What I've noticed, man, you catch one of those siblings alone or slide them a card, they'll call and they'll go, hey, he's with this chick. And, you know, she lives over there. She drives with this. And guess what, man? And that's what I've always, successful with, find somebody that wants them out of the picture.
Yep. Yep.
You know, all the new technology is cool. You know, trackers are cool. But you got people that are loyal to these fugitives. Before you used to be able to geotag the pictures.
Yeah.
Not no more.
Oh, really?
No, they're killing that.
I'm out of the game far too long.
Yeah.
We weren't geotagging anything back then. So,
Yeah.
so now that they can't do it, it doesn't
So
affect me.
so when I told you we went out to California,
Yeah.
we went out to Cali, and how we got him is the guy's on the run, and he's still posting on Facebook grilling.
Of course.
So dude, Angel geotagged him, and we went out.
Nice.
Mhm.
And and the guy asked, he goes, "Yo, how'd y'all find me?" I'm like, "Stay off Facebook, bitch.
Yep.
Stay off
No, don't give
Facebook."
away the secrets,
I'm-
man. Let them post.
I'm
They
like-
can't post.
And it's just like, well, dude, it's like in prison, man. It says it right there. These phones are
Yeah,
monitors.
right,
And
right.
blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah blah.
It takes real.
I hit the gun here, I hit the money there,
Yeah.
and it's just like, bro,
you
it's
kidding
painted
me?
right
You
there,
can hear the beep in the every 15 seconds, and you're still talking.
and you still running your pie hole,
yeah.
dumb motherfuckers.
It
Give me.
takes-
I'm sorry. Tim.
No, Greg, it's your show.
No. I'm just saying. I read a book recently, and I hate to start by saying that and then saying I can't remember the name of the book or who wrote it. But this guy had been a reporter, and he was very, very savvy with social media. And he would take a cold case where there was some sort of a surveillance photo or an image, whether it's a Ring doorbell or a store camera, and he would target that geographical area through Facebook.
Yeah.
Pay for like an ad. I guess it was an ad, a page, whatever. And he would just plaster the picture on there and say, this person committed, whatever it is, murder or, sexual assault or whatever. But he would blast it into that 1 mile radius.
Yeah.
And he was having tremendous results by doing it. And I was like, even though I'm out of the game, I was like, God, I love that type of thinking where, he's making it work in a way that somebody has never thought of before. And so it'd be, the technology is constantly evolving, and we have to evolve with it. But this guy kind of got like one jump ahead and said,
Yeah.
I can make this work.
Social media has been law enforcement's best and worst enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
All the way around it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say earlier was,
Yeah.
And you probably know best among us, but it takes real discipline to go off the grid and go silent deep. It takes a lot of planning and preparation to do it right, and to really
You need
stay on the
money.
left.
Exactly. I was gonna
Dude,
say-
you need, no broke dick can fucking get off the
No.
grid.
Yeah. You have to have resources
Yeah.
and a support system or independent wealth.
Yeah.
You gotta have money. I told you about Alex Kelly. When the dude used to, clean my office. Remember Alex Kelly? The
I
rich
worked
dude?
that case. I mean, it wasn't my
did?
case, but
Okay.
yeah, I worked
So-
at that. We had that case.
So when that
for-
dude was locked up, I used to talk to the guy all the time. And this guy's talking about picking grapes in Chile, being a ski
dishwasher,
instructor in Switzerland.
but he was also washing dishes at some restaurant too for a while. Yeah.
But his parents were freaking getting him money wherever he was.
Oh,
and,
they
every,
were wealthy, yeah.
and every time the FBI was like, they said that one time they hit his room and he just walked out of it around the corner. And every time they were.
I was at the search of his parents' home, which is how we ended up breaking the case. Yeah. We kept trying to turn the heat up on the parents, and of course they were very arrogant people.
The first time they came up to the prison to McDougal Walker, they showed up and they're like, "We're the Kellys."
Yes.
And everybody was like,
So
"Okay, congratulations." So I remember like one time he says, "Oh, they're making a movie on me," and I'm like, "Can you get some smooth Latino motherfucker to play me? Not some ugly cat like me. Get some smooth motherfucker." But yeah, they were mad arrogant. But
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, no. So anyway, they kept putting up the pressure on. We were putting posters and flyers up in the neighborhood, which of course mortified them, and trying to get articles back in
As
the
if.
newspaper. Yeah,
Peasants.
yeah. And finally, they got a search warrant for the house, and the mother. The house was. When I say clean, I'm not talking about hygienically clean. I'm like no trace of anything. But the mother had his address in Europe for him, and she was just about to mail a letter to him, and we found it in her purse. And that's what broke the whole case, because now they could no longer deny they had any idea where he was. And the federal U.S. Attorney's Office said, we'll be prosecuting you for harboring fugitive unless something happens. And they contacted him, and then he agreed to surrender himself to spare his parents being arrested and prosecuted.
Noble. Imagine that in a criminal.
Well, we also had his address at that
Couldn't
point.
have
So
mummy
he
arrested.
knew the walls were closing in. I mean, he had
Yeah,
limited resources at that point to try to get away. So
Yeah, last time he was trying to open up a dive place up in Enfield or up top of the state, and I guess people were complaining, and I worked at a bar in downtown Hartford with a girl that went to high school with him, and she said she had nothing good to say about him, and she said that he was a little forceful with the ladies, wink, wink.
yeah, I think there were a couple of unreported.
Yeah,
sexual
that's what this
assaults
girl told me.
that took place because of the stigma.
Mm.
But I think one or two finally came forward and made official complaints.
Yeah, that's what this
That's
one
what
girl
started.
told me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And like I said, yeah, he's out now. And yeah, he was trying to start some dive school. But I'm just like, that's so funny. You worked on that.
Yeah, I was in that house and saw the parents. Yeah.
Yeah, they showed up. They were mad arrogant.
Who found the letter? That's a thorough search. Much credit,
Yes.
Much credit to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky because that was the only thing in that entire house, and it was a big house that tied it that was connected to him. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cats. People with
And,
money.
and she was on her way to mail it. So I mean, if we waited a day longer, we would have lost it. We would have missed it.
Yeah, he told me being everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, damn, dude.
But I don't think he was living the high life. I mean, he traveled a lot, but I never got the impression that it was necessarily.
Yeah, he told me he picked
European vacation.
He said he picked at vineyards, and since he was an avid skier, he taught ski, in Switzerland and all this shit. I'm just like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah.
But nice. So you got on the fugitive team with here. You started running and gunning with the big boys, what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Not chasing paper.
Yep. Good work, satisfying work. Yeah, I was quite content.
So when did we stumble onto the debacle?
So, Jimmy, here's the thing. Every organization, I guess, is statistically driven. They want to prove their worth, and in the FBI, there's 56 field offices across the country, and they're all evaluated, by headquarters for productivity and that.
Who's closing, who ain't? ABC, always be closing.
So, and by nature, I guess, law enforcement type people tend to be competitive and ambitious and want, recognition and to distinguish themselves. And I don't want to say it's a dirty little secret, but most people, probably aren't aware that, the FBI financially incentivizes their employees for above average work, for exceptional work. On a police department, I've worked on a police department. I've worked with sheriff's departments. I've never come across one that gives you a bonus check for making the most arrests or the most DUIs or writing out the most speeding tickets. Now, you may get a letter of recognition. You may get a letter of commendation. You may even get a medal of commendation, depending on the quality of the case. But you're not going to get a check, or you're not going to get a raise. Now, you may get a promotion at some point, but they're not going to say, hey, you made so many UFAP arrests this past quarter that you're going to get a QSI, which is a quality step increase, which is a fancy name for a raise. So, in the FBI, there's a form called an FD 515. There's a billion forms, but there's an FD 515, which is basically a report card that you fill out. So you self-report your statistics. At the end of every quarter, you would take this sheet and you would say, okay, I served 2 search warrants. I obtained 5 federal arrest warrants for fugitives. I testified in court 2 times. I served 7 subpoenas. I testified before a grand jury once, and I recovered 1 stolen car. And you submit it, and your supervisor would look at it and look at all the other 515s. And after reviewing them, if one stood out, Jimmy, you're going to get a QSI quality step increase, so you're going to get a raise. And Tim, you're going to get a financial incentive award. So next paycheck, you'll see a $1,500 check in addition to your paycheck and a nice letter from the director saying, Tim, great job. So obviously these are coveted things.
No money for you, Tim. Cabela's gift card,
No
my
suit
boy.
for you.
Cabela's gift card for you, cracker.
So one of the categories that they were able to, I don't want to say inflate, but that they were able to take advantage of was making a state fugitive case a federal case. So you say, well, what makes it a federal case? Well, we have a warrant accusing them of a crime, a felony. And now they want to get a warrant saying that Jimmy has left the state of Connecticut in order to avoid prosecution, in order to avoid being caught. So they didn't care about your warrant. What they wanted now was information that would convince a federal judge that you have left the state to avoid being arrested. And the focus at some point began to shift from catching bad guys to let's making these federal warrants and then catch the bad guy. It didn't do anything for me because all of my warrants already had the approval to be extradited anywhere in the country. So it was redundant for me. Whether I had a federal warrant or a state warrant with nationwide extradition was all one and the same. They wanted it because they could check that box off on their report card. And I get it. I've been an agent. I know how the game is played, and I didn't have a problem with it. The problem became where the coordinator of the task force now began to try to make most cases federal warrant cases. And, the problem is a lot of people who are wanted don't have the wherewithal or the stomach to leave the state. Or if they, so their idea of, we used to laugh, if they were a New Haven guy and nobody could find them, we say, well, they went out west. It's sort of like, you think they went out to California? We say, like, no, West Haven. There's all these cheap motels in West Haven they can hide out at and still be like 10 minutes away from New Haven. So that was the running joke. They went out west. But that was the truth of the matter is a lot of these inner city kids had no interest in leaving the state. They didn't want to leave New Haven to begin with. Never mind, they're going to leave the state. So these cases weren't going to make it to the federal level, but the pressure was well, do they have any relatives that live out of state? And it's like, yeah, his grandparents live in Brooklyn. All right, let's write something up. And it's like, yeah, but we don't think he's in Brooklyn. We think he's probably right around New Hallville. Well, let's see how we can massage it, type of a thing. And I'm like, what do I care? Like, I have a warrant. I don't care whether I can try to prove he's in New York. I'm trying to find him here, So that became the friction. And eventually it got to the point where the coordinator was just blatantly saying, give me the warrants, I'll write them. My motto is, if you don't have it, lie. And of course I hear that and I'm like, oh dear God, why would you say that? I mean, and if you're going to say it, don't say it out loud, say it to yourself.
Think it.
Exactly. So once I hear that, you can't unhear it, right? Now it's in your head. And so one of my warrants comes back from court being signed. And I decide, instead of going on with my day-to-day work, I'm curious now to make sure that the warrant is actually the warrant that I handed over.
Mm-hmm.
And I review it and I realize there's a new paragraph added to the body of the affidavit saying that I have an informant that has seen this person in New York at an address. And I'm like, okay, hang on a second. No, this is fiction. And it's attributed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is in a signed affidavit before a federal judge. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I file it in my mind and I say, well, I don't want to throw the penalty flag or the challenge flag on one example, because my concern is that they're going to say, well, it was a typographical error, I misunderstood them, something innocuous that wasn't true.
It can get brushed off easy as a one-time affair.
Well, exactly. But then now the problem is now I'm labeled as the problem. So
just so I'm clear, guys,
yeah,
real quick.
Sure.
You're the affy on these warrants?
No. So how it worked was I would prepare a draft of my affidavit, saying this is the information I have, and which may prove that he's out of state. Apparently that wasn't enough, and the coordinator felt the need to enhance it so it was a certainty that the person was out of state, not just he may be. I went to a couple of the inspectors that I knew had pending warrants, and I pulled them aside and said, based on what the announcement that was made in the office, do me a favor, when the warrant comes back, review it again and let me know if you see anything unusual. One inspector came back to me immediately and says, one of my warrants has been changed. Another one came back and says, 3 of them have new information in there that's attributed to me. And he goes, and it's not true. I found 2 more. So at this point, I had 7 black and white examples where I had copies of the original draft, and now I had the signed copy that was approved by a U.S. attorney and a federal judge that was now, on record.
Mm-hmm.
With 7 examples, we like to say in law enforcement, 1 time might be an accident, 2 times could be a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. When you're up to 7, it's
called blatant.
Exactly, it's a scheme at this point.
Called a clue.
Yeah. So, being the supervisor of my group, I felt I had an obligation to make the chief state attorney aware of what I had discovered. And I wasn't making the accusation lightly. I had 7 documented examples that I put in a binder and presented to him and said, this is a big problem. They're citing us as the sources of information, which we know is false. And I have the original draft that doesn't have that information. So we were pulled out of the task force almost immediately. But we were also ordered to not discuss it with anyone. So if another police officer or probation officer said, hey, what happened? I thought you guys were on the fugitive task force. Now you're not there anymore. We had to say, no comment. Unfortunately, the fugitive task force was telling everybody who they ran into that we were removed because we were incompetent and we weren't pulling our weight.
And you couldn't even.
And we could not rebut it or defend ourselves. And it was rubbing the guys the wrong way.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So to advance the story, a young reporter at the New Britain Herald Press caught wind of what had taken place. And honest to God, it was not from me, even though I had met him before, but I did not say anything. He contacted me and said, I've heard this rumor. And I said, I cannot comment. He contacted Steve Freddo, one of my inspectors, and Steve Freddo said, no comment. He contacted Steve Kumnick, and Steve Kumnick said, pull up a chair. I've got a great story for you. And
he was the third out of the three who were told.
Yes, yeah. So in the Sunday edition of the New Britain Herald Press, there was a front page story, FBI falsifying affidavits. And the following day, we were called in by the chief state attorney and severely rebuked, warned that we would lose our jobs if we were to speak about this in public again. And then sadly, the chief state attorney and the head of the FBI began defending the agents, trying to minimize the whole thing, saying it was a miscommunication and a personality conflict, but not really falsified affidavits.
Pardon me, but was this guy who spoke to the reporter, was he identified in the report or was he anonymous?
22 times he was quoted.
Oh.
By name.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I found ironic that now I was the subject of an internal affairs investigation, as was Steve Freddo, both of us on record saying no comment. Yeah. And Steve Kumnick, who then gets transferred to Litchfield, was also the subject of an internal affairs investigation. I got it as far as Steve goes. Me and Fredo had no dog in the fight, and yet we got dragged into the same IA investigation as Steve did. So that was the catalyst for the whole eventual lawsuit. Within several weeks, all of a sudden, the fugitive squad ran out of funding, according to the chief state attorney, even though I knew that we were funded throughout the rest of that year and the following fiscal year because I was involved in the budget proposal. But he still tried to play it off as we had suddenly all of a sudden lost the money and we were no longer funded. We were all 6 inspectors were transferred to different courthouses around the state. I got sent to Litchfield, which was 90 minutes from my house, and I was no longer a supervisor. And at that point, Tim, I was like, okay, you know what? Now I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. You have defended the FBI in the newspaper while I cannot defend myself. And now I am driving 90 minutes to sit in an office and read a newspaper for 8 hours a day. And I'm no longer a supervisor. So that's when I decided it's time to go seek private counsel and see if there's anything I can do about it myself.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, what I didn't realize at the time, and it only came out during the trial, while Mr. Bailey, the chief state attorney, was under oath, was while this was going on, he was being considered for a position within the U.S. Department of Justice under Janet Reno to head the criminal division in Washington, D.C. Mr. Bailey, being politically savvy, knew he would need the endorsement of the New Haven FBI office and the recommendation of the U.S. Attorney's Office. So he was trying to tamp down and whitewash our allegations in an effort to preserve his chance of getting in this huge position that he aspired to get. He never got it, but it didn't change what he did to his guys. And what made it worse, he knew me personally. He'd gone to my wedding even. He knew Steve Kumnick for years. He knew Steve Freddo for years. So it wasn't that these were, sort of just employees that came forward. He knew all of us individually and personally, and he should have known that there's no way we would have made such a serious allegation against another law enforcement officer unless there was truth to it.
But just like anything, all of us have worked in agencies, departments, whatever. When shit's getting ugly, everybody wants to align themselves on the winning team.
Of course.
Nobody. It's like what's the cheer game?
Musical chairs.
Musical chairs. everybody wants their ass on a seat when the music stops.
Exactly.
You know that
Exactly.
a dude that you were cool with, all of a sudden you're like, wow, this motherfucker's giving me the chill. This guy's giving me frostbite.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, man, I haven't done anything to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to
And,
imagine what it's like to be a leper in a leper colony,
Yeah, so that's
do this.
so like I said, so something like that, I could just imagine that, everybody wants to align themselves on the winning team, and that's insanity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, when you add that political component to it,
Of course.
That's doubling down on the subsidy thing.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like within 2 weeks, he went from being outraged at the FBI to being enraged with us.
Wow, so that breaker popped quick.
Yep.
Wow,
And there's no resetting.
ain't no resetting. That's a bullshit. So how long after that did you keep working?
Well, I was by the union contract, they could only keep me in Litchfield for 120 days. They offered me a position out there to stay, and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. A 3-hour drive every day to get, is not appealing to me. Thank you very much. So I went back to the office.
There's nothing in Litchfield.
It's beautiful. Not if you're looking to do police work, but it's beautiful.
I DJ'd a wedding out there 2 weekends ago, and boy, can't get there from here, boy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's no shortcut.
I went out all back roads. I had to go up to Terryville, and I'm looking at my GPS, and it says like 30 miles, and I'm like, why does it say an hour 15 to get out there?
Because
I'm like, dude, I get hour 15. I could be in Co-op City in the Bronx, and I'm like, bro, this is fucked up.
Jimmy, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this story. I mean, they treated me well out there. I can't complain. Like I wasn't given the cold shoulder. I was welcomed there. But there was a prosecutor in the office who, on his lunch hour, would go check his beaver traps. Now, when he first told me this, I'm thinking it's code,
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
So I'm like, oh, okay. And I see him lacing up the LL Beans, and I'm like, where are you going? And he goes, to check my traps. I said, for what? He said, beaver. I said, we have beaver in Connecticut? Oh, yeah. He goes, up here? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, so he leaves. And I said something, I was like, is he on the up and up with this? I just blame me, because I mean, maybe he thinks I'm from New Haven. I don't know.
And what was he?
A prosecutor.
And he was probably the postmaster. He was the game warden. He was fucking. Oh my God!
And so he came back one day. I said, "What did you do with these things?" Oh, he goes,
Good eating, boy.
No, he goes, I sell the pelts. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't know why more people don't do it. He goes, I make good money doing it. And I was like, that's crazy. I said, I didn't even realize that we had beavers up here in this part of the state.
Shout out to my man CZ. My buddy lives in East Lyme, and he's right on the lake. And he's got one, and the thing keeps terrorizing the lake, making a dam.
Yeah.
And the thing is, man, bro, like we'll be out there. He don't show up. We go in the house. That motherfucker's doing the backstroke in front of the dock, like fuck you. We call him Michael Phelps. That's our nickname for the little bastard. But yeah, like we'll be in the house having dinner. I'm like, and you see my man just backstroking.
And let the beaver be the beaver. That's what he does, right?
What do they call him? Nature's engineer?
Yeah.
But that's just hysterical, dude. But yeah, they got him in Connecticut. Those bastards are destructive, man. I'm telling you, man. Those dudes in a day or two, they'll set up shop, man, and you're gonna have to go in your wallet to tear that shit down.
I get it.
It's crazy.
But
I'm looking for a video. This is at Hubbard Park. I was out there with my dog talking about beavers.
Yeah.
You guys carry on.
All right. So Greg, I see in your book, it's pretty cool. You got Norm Pattis, heavyweight.
Yeah.
That boy's a heavyweight.
Oh, yeah.
And you got my boy Jack Garcia.
Yeah, Joaquin.
I got to get him on the show, but now that he moved, I got to get him on Zoom. And I hate doing Zoom.
Yeah.
Because I tried getting him before he moved out of Connecticut. And but he's the nicest guy.
He really is.
Because who introduced me to him was my buddy Ralph Friedman.
Okay.
You know Ralph Friedman?
No, I
I'll
don't.
talk about him after the show. He's I can't even say a friend of the show. He's a friend of ours now. He's a usual suspect around here. Ralph Friedman has a show, Street Justice, highest decorated detective at NYPD.
Oh, is his first name is Ralph? Because I do know a
Ralph.
Friedman that's on Facebook that has a couple of books out, and he was a New York detective.
Yeah,
I-
Street Warrior.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah, that's
forgot
Ralph.
his name
That's
was
Ralph
Okay,
Friedman.
yeah.
Good, great guy. Been on the show twice.
Right. He's got full sleeves, right? This guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, that's
yeah.
him. Yep.
Yeah, he's been on the show twice. We've been to his humble abode, the compound, Starlock 13. We've been there for dinner, and he is the hostess with the mostest.
Yeah. When you're talking
And,
about Joaquin,
we love him.
yeah.
He's so funny because I remember in the summer, like 2 years ago, I started smoking, meats, not smoking
Okay.
anything else. So, I call him up and I'm like, hey, I made a pastrami. And he's like, you want me to call the rabbi? We'll get it blessed.
You have a kosher pastrami.
And, and it's funny because I was born at a Jewish hospital in the Bronx.
Okay.
So he's like, you're one of us. We're going to get you your Star David. So he's always messing with me. He goes, you're one of us. Don't worry about it. We got you. He's a great guy.
Yeah. But it's funny. I was watching a Netflix documentary one time, and as I'm watching
The Cocaine Cowboys.
yes, yeah,
With Joaquin in it.
right, and I'm watching it, and the person I'm with, I was like, they're introducing this guy. I said, as a hitman. I said, but I could almost swear I said, it's this guy Joaquin, and she said, no, this guy's a hitman, and I was like,
No,
I know.
that was his cover
I said-
when he roughed the guy up.
So I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, but boy, I said, it looks a whole lot like him. I said, well, he's a big guy. So it's kind of grainy footage. Then like 5 minutes later, they said, little did they realize that that the hitman they were introducing was an undercover FBI agent. And I was like, and that's him. So
Yes.
it's funny. When I asked Jack if he would be willing to endorse the book, he says, well, I'm not much of a reader. Can you give me like a summary of it? And so I said, well, yeah. I said, I could, I guess. I said, I prefer that you just read it so you could, make an informed endorsement of it. He's like, well, yeah, just give me like a couple of pages on it. So I did it, and he gave me a very positive endorsement, which I'm grateful for. But I couldn't help but laugh when I announced on LinkedIn that the book came out. He says, I can't wait to read this. And I'm thinking, you've already endorsed it. I'm like, please don't say you can't wait to read it now.
Say I can't wait for the movie. Yeah, I saw that Cocaine Cowboys day with him in it. Yeah, and he's the nicest guy.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
He's
a
the
sweet guy.
He's the nicest dude. And well, yeah, like I said, yeah, Joaquin, he's cool.
But menacing looking guy.
Yeah, he's
Have you seen him, Tim?
no, he's a big dude.
Oh, he's got it.
But he's Cuban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up all around paisans.
Right.
So you hear him talk. He's like Joey. If you don't know Joey, and you think Joey's freaking Italian, and he's Cuban.
Oh, shit.
But the beautiful thing about him, Tim, was the FBI could use him like he was like a double threat. If they were trying to get into Colombians, he would come in as like the mafia don.
Yeah.
And throw out the mafia, the Italian lingo and dress like it. And if they were trying to get him in with the organized crime guys, he'd come in as the Colombian drug lord.
Damn.
And speak Spanish.
What a weapon.
And so he could play both sides.
Oh.
Depending on what the circumstances were.
Yeah.
So the FBI was using them left and right. They'd fly him down to Miami. He'd be an OC guy from New York. They'd bring him back up to New York, and he'd be a Cuban or Colombian drug dealer.
What a life.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, very versatile
I
guy.
gotta write a book.
Yeah. Well, he has a book.
Oh.
He does
I
have
got
a
it
book.
right here on the coffee table. I got it, bro.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can write it from the library.
My life is Jack Falcone. Is that it? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn.
You guys keep talking. I'll grab it, give him a plug.
Yeah.
If there's a book out there, it's got it.
That's funny.
I think he intentionally leaves. There's usually a coffee table, or is there? No.
Oh.
Coffee table, booby traps, and like all this wacky shit. I think he leaves it out there intentionally so people will walk in and stumble upon it. What the fuck? Oh man.
Yeah, yeah, he's quite a character. Yeah, I was lucky to have a couple of nice endorsements for the book, and then of course, Frank Serpico was actually part of the book. So yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Badass.
I knew I might have to mail it to him so he could
Mhm.
Sign it
bless
for you?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I might have to mail it to him. I might
Weighing
have to
300
mail it.
pounds, not your typical G-man.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what it says there.
Yeah,
That's fucking interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, you can
It
take
was
a
so
look.
funny
Yeah,
that the FBI could be such a tight ass organization that they were constantly on him about his weight.
Mm.
That he was overweight. He wasn't making weight for an agent. But the whole thing was you wanted a convincing undercover guy, which you don't want a guy that's 6'2" and 185
With a high and
cut.
tight.
Exactly. It's like this is you got.
You smell like bacon.
Yeah.
Once he's done being an undercover, then you can say, well, hey, look, you got to kind of trim down a little bit because, but not for that kind of work.
No, man, you gotta.
Yeah, I talked to him once or twice on the phone. Sweetheart of a
He
dude.
really is. Yeah, he's a gracious
Sweetheart
guy.
of a dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, yeah. Ralph's like, yeah, you got to hook up with him. We got a good
Mhm.
story. Yeah, it's funny how these guys, all intermingle.
Kind of. It's not as many of us as there are. It's still kind of a small community.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know somebody, you'll know somebody who knows that person. kind of a
Totally.
thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I got it. That's how I got into Jack. An FBI agent I'm friends with. I said, I'm trying to find somebody, and he's like, "You think about using Jack Garcia?" And I was like, "No." I said, "I don't know." He goes, "No. Just tell him I know. I referred you to him." He goes, "As soon as I mentioned that guy's name, he's like, whatever you need, you got it." I was like, "There we go."
It was
That's how it
it
works.
was when we had shout out to Joe Pistone. Thank you, Joey, for everything you always do for us, willing to do for us, friend of the show. And when we had Joe Pistone, when we interviewed him, we called a friend of ours who's still on the job. And I'm like, hey, so what do you want to say hi to you? And he flipped out. He flipped out.
Yeah.
He's like, hello? And I'm like, and he knew what we were doing at that time.
He ignored the call the first time, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
that's
ignored
funny.
the call.
He called back right away, and as he tells the story, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
As he tells the story, it's like he called back the second time. I think it came from my phone.
Yeah,
First
because
time,
I
he's
used yours.
I guess I better answer. So now he's glad he did, of course.
Yeah.
He
good.
thought we were in
That's
trouble.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Tim, give me your phone. And he's like, are you guys okay? When you need bond money? I'm like, no, somebody wants to say hi to you.
Oh, that's nice.
And he's like, what? I go, somebody wants to say hi to you. Don't be rude. You act like you got some upbringing. And, he ended up talking to Joe Pistone.
Nice.
And he was like, dude, he's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe Pistone, class act. We love him.
Yeah.
And, just like you said earlier, we met some guys along the way on the road, and, we've cool cats, and you know what I mean? And just, a like minds meld.
Yeah.
Love that shit. So you said you worked how long more after this?
Oh, did I say on the job?
Yeah.
Another 14 years, I think.
Wow.
Did you feel froze out, ostracized?
Oh, I was froze out the day I retired still. I never recovered from that.
Those are
They
bitches.
put me on the shelf, and I never got off it again.
Your ass got numb.
Well, that's what they say in the organized crime. They put him on the shelf. He can't
Yeah.
earn it anymore.
Mhm.
And it was the same thing. Originally when after the lawsuit, and I prevailed, I went back, and the chief district attorney was like, "Where would you like to go?" Now all of a sudden we were best buds.
Now we can't do enough for you.
Right. And he offered me a couple of different spots, and I said, you have a gang unit, I said, that does not have a supervisor. Oh, you're right. That's perfect. I'll post for the position. We'll do the interviews, and you'll start in 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, you're right back to your old ways. I mean, really? I mean, this is what we're going to do now? You're going to make it a posting. Everyone's going to come in and interview, and I'm already the selected guy.
Well, they have to, because all the bullshit, all the rigmarole. You got to post. You can't just.
No, I get it. But I'm just thinking it's still a rigged game. No, I'm just the beneficiary of the rig, but that's all the change, So I end up supervising the gang unit. The chief state attorney, for health reasons, leaves. His number 2 replaces him. And all of a sudden, I had inherited 5 inspectors, 4 prosecutors, 2 secretaries, and a paralegal. So we had a very thriving, active unit. We were actually tasked with working with the state police on outlaw motorcycle gangs, any street gangs, usually drug gangs, and any organized crime, which was not really high on the.
And realistically, where does most of all the gang intel come from?
DOC.
DOC.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
DOC is the unsung.
I'm still friends.
and
Undisputed
I hate it how people look down upon it. And I tell people, I was like, dude, don't tell me you're in a gang unit in some town, some task force. And I'm like, you're getting everything from DOC. No. I'm like,
well,
dude.
who was my guy there? Brian.
Brian.
I don't want to say his last name because
Z?
yes.
Oh, we talk all the time.
Okay. Well, that was my go-to.
Oh, we talk all the
Yeah. No, I'm on Facebook with him. I mean, we stay in touch.
Yeah, that was, oh my God, he did so much for my career.
Yeah. So Tim, I had this thriving bureau that covered the entire state, and we were all over the place. We were in Bridgeport, we were in Waterbury, we were in Hartford, we were in New London. I mean, we made the rounds. Obviously New Haven, and all of a sudden we're transferring an inspector because we have, a homicide trial in Bridgeport. Okay, I went from 5 inspectors to 4 inspectors, and now a prosecutor. And then we're going to take the secretary out. We're going to take another inspector. Eventually, like in the span of 2 years, I am down to 1 inspector, 2 prosecutors, and a part-time secretary.
God.
Ooh.
I went from 15 people to like 4 in the span of 2 years.
That's what they call skeleton crew.
Well, I mean, it was like a live dissection. I mean, it was like, and I kept saying, you've got to replace people. Our caseload is getting bigger every year, and we have less people working every year. Something's got to give.
They knew what they were doing.
Trying to set you up for failure or what?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, when my only inspector was on vacation, and now I am covering leads by myself. I mean, I'm the supervisor, and I'm trying to work, cases while I'm supposed to be supervising the entire unit. I mean, you're right. I mean, they're setting us up for failure because you can't be effective when you're covering the entire state.
Chinese inspection.
And you have a supervisor, 1 inspector, 2 prosecutors, and a part-time secretary.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was a disaster. And so then he said, yeah, you make a good point. We're just going to disband the unit. And I'm thinking, that's the solution?
Yeah.
So I found myself supervising the elder abuse unit, which was a horrible fit for me. Then I was transferred to the Workers' Compensation Fraud Bureau, and I remained there for like the next 8 years until I eventually said, okay, you're offering a golden buyout. I've got my time. I mean, golden handshake rather, and I'm out.
Well, that was the one of what? On 2003 when they did it? 2009.
That was the last one.
2009, yeah. 2008, 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
Greg, could we go back a little bit?
Sure.
Way back.
We go way back. Going back to when this became a legal thing, when you sought counsel.
Yeah.
A couple of things. A, was this someone you knew or someone who had been recommended by you? And I think they're mentioned in the book, the attorney's name.
Recommended because other prosecutors held her in high regard for that type of a situation.
All right.
Yeah.
And her, you said, right?
Yes, Karen Litori, yeah.
Initial reaction was, I'm not touching this, or was she salivating over something?
No, hard sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. She sort of, we had a little bit of a butting of heads, and this was the first in the series, because her initial position was, well, all cops lie. And I was like, okay, how would you feel if I said, and every attorney is a shyster?
Mm.
And she was like, well, fair point. I said, okay. I said, because I'll tell you right now, you will never find an affidavit, an arrest warrant or a search warrant that I've ever falsified or lied on. I said, so let's clear the air with that right off the bat. So she was like, all right, that was unfair. I said, okay. And then she was like, I'm not sure, how we can make this work. And I said, well, you're the attorney. I said,
figure it out.
I don't think what happened is right. I said, I don't think it's legal. I said, and I'm trying to figure out what my recourse is. And after she, reviewed the material that I had, and I had assembled quite a bit of material, she says, you have a claim here for a violation of your First Amendment right to free speech. She said, you were gagged in writing and verbally to talk about this. And he turned around and went to the reporters and said, this is a big misunderstanding. It was a miscommunication. There was no ill intent here. And there were typographical errors and there were personality conflicts. And he said, that is a violation of your First Amendment right to free speech. He made these remarks that you could not defend yourself in the public forum, and it's wrong. And that was the thrust of the case, yeah.
Is that all it was? Which is a First Amendment violation?
Yes.
Yeah. I say all it was.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing was, it was reputational harm. The fact that he tried to basically say that me, Cumlick, and Fredo were lying in making allegations, but in fact, we were absolutely the ones telling the truth.
Yeah.
And the jury was given 3 areas to decide. If the fugitive squad was disbanded because of a lack of funding or retaliation, if I was no longer a supervisor because of incompetence or retaliation, and was I transferred to Litchfield because of a manpower shortage or retaliation. And fortunately, the jury came back and found on my behalf on all 3 areas. So.
Good for you guys. That was just you and the other 2 as well.
Good question, Tim. I invited them to join me in the litigation. At the time, although I was married, I had no children. Steve and Steve both had families. They were very concerned about losing their jobs because that was the threat. And they said, this is what I'm counting on to put my kids through college. I can't risk it. And I was like, okay, I understand. I'm not happy about it, but I get it. We're in different situations, and I respect it. Although the addendum is, after I won, they hired a law firm and were offered checks without filing a lawsuit.
Yeah, obviously due in large part to your
Well,
success.
Of course, they piggybacked it because
Well, they, I mean, the other team already knew if we try to litigate this is going to lose also. So it was like basically what amount is going to make it right.
I don't think it was intentional on the other 2's part, but it was well played in the end.
Oh yeah, no. I was happy for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, all these guys do this. They don't worry about their giglio. They just, wow.
Well, I mean, the irony is the agents got away unscathed. So it's like, wow, that worked out pretty unfair. We're no longer doing fugitive work. We're all working in different courthouses around the state. These guys never missed a beat. They kept working cases, and yeah.
That's crazy, and it's just you don't think shit like that gonna happen at that level. You
like to think it does.
You like to think it's all on the up and up.
Of course.
And I mean, shit like that. Like I said, we've all seen shit that you're like, really, that's how it's gonna go down.
Jimmy, the coordinator who had at least twice bragged about lying on affidavits if you don't have it.
See, you don't have it, lie about it.
Well, his quote was, "Hey, follow my motto. If you don't have it, lie." They never prosecute these cases anyway. So the FBI eventually, a half a year later, got around to interviewing us about our complaint. And funny how they can solve cases like, with a fingernail clipping left at a crime scene. But all of a sudden on this case, they couldn't figure out who falsified the affidavit. And I'm thinking, well, there's only 3 possible people. I gave the affidavit to the coordinator. He gave it to an agent and said, go get this signed. I think we can rule me out of this equation. So now we're down to 2 suspects.
Wow.
And they couldn't figure out who actually did it. at the
Fucking
end,
John Benet Ramsey case.
yeah. At the end of it all, the coordinator initially was given a 2-week suspension and 6 months of probation, and he appealed it. But while the investigation was taking place, he was promoted to supervisor, which was like a $30,000 a year pay jump. And then he appealed it
Got his time back.
and had it overturned. So he never had the 2-week suspension. He never was on 6 months of probation.
Hearsay?
And, huh?
It was just hearsay? I never said that.
Well, so here's the thing. When you're an FBI agent, they cannot compel you to take a polygraph exam, but they can hold it against you in a disciplinary action if you refuse to.
Yeah.
They can use it as evidence of guilt for discipline, not for criminal
Yeah, I
charge,
get
for
it.
discipline. They offered to give me a polygraph exam, and I said, yeah, I'll take it. They never gave it to me.
Of course not.
Why would you make the agent take a polygraph exam, and if he refuses, say, well, this is evidence of your guilt? But that never happened. And the reason it never happened is, let's face it, they knew he would have flunked the polygraph.
Yeah.
So they don't want to go there because now they're stuck with him committing 7 felonies.
I might have missed something, but
Sure.
What would be the? I get there was a cash incentive for the agents with these cards and stuff and over reporting, right? But what was the incentive for the person who said, we're going to lie about these things and push them through?
Well, he was the coordinator of the task force, and he's the one who got promoted to supervisor.
So it was promotion for him. It was
Yeah,
financial
the
incentive. for the
statistics justified him being promoted
agent. All right, makes
because
sense.
the amount of arrests we were making and the amount of federal warrants that they were producing.
Now, big question. Still that way today?
I would have no idea. I would love to say no, but I couldn't say that in
Okay.
good faith because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be my big question too. Is that still the policy or still business as usual?
Well, see, here's the thing, Jimmy. I guess maybe they justified it by saying, well, they aren't being prosecuted, so there's no additional penalty of us putting these charges on them. But the thing is, you're misleading a prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, and a federal judge with this information. And the bigger concern that I have is, so one of my cases was a James Joseph Dolan, who's named in the book. And the information I had, he was wanted out of West Haven for a series of violent felonies. He got arrested in a stolen car up in upstate New York, in the Albany area. Before I got the case referred to me, he did 30 days in jail up there and was released. So I say, okay, he did time in New York, got arrested in a stolen car. He left the state of Connecticut. Obviously, here is the case. A judge apparently returned it and said, well, he was in New York, but how do you know he's still there? The judge was wrong because the fact that he was in New York is a technical violation of the UFAP statute. So it should have been signed. For whatever reason, they wanted it refreshed, updated, whatever. The coordinator or the agent who signed it, question mark, right? We don't know positively, added a paragraph that they contacted an officer, Dolan, at the police department in upstate New York where the arrest had been made. And he confirmed that he had seen the fugitive leaving an address on Claremont Street in Albany. But this is supposed to be according to me, that I had this conversation with this officer. Now I'm reading this affidavit and I'm like, Officer Dolan? I never spoke to an officer in New York, never mind Officer Dolan. So I call the police station and I say, is Officer Dolan working there? And they said, well, yeah, he's in records. So I said, okay, I hang up. Because now I'm thinking, okay, somebody made the call. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, they would have said they called him. They wouldn't say I called him. So I called back and I say, can you put me through the records? Officer Dolan answers. I identify myself and I said, right off the bat, are you the only Officer Dolan in the department? He says, yes. I said, okay, can you do me a favor? I'll give you this name. Can you look him up? Yes. Yes, we arrested him using a stolen car. I said, okay. I said, do you know him? No. Were you involved in the arrest? No. Did you see him on Claremont Street in Albany? He's like, who are you?
Oh God! Right.
What are you? Why are you asking me this? I said, no. I said, I have a information here. I said that you. He goes, okay. First of all, he goes, I don't work in Albany. He goes, that's a different city. He goes, I don't know where Claremont Street is. I don't know who this guy is. He goes, I'm not sure why you're asking me this. So I'm like, okay, this entire
guess we cleared that up.
This entire paragraph is bullshit,
And-
obviously.
Yeah.
And it's attributed to me, which I find trouble.
Sure.
Because my concern, Tim, is let's say they hit this house, because they named this street, the address on Claremont Street. They hit this house hoping to find this guy. The homeowner doesn't know what is going on.
I know where you're going with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now something tragic happens, and now there's a civil suit, and now everyone gets called into court.
How did we get there?
How did you end up at this house? Well, I had an affidavit in a supervisor, Inspector Dillon,
Such and such saying.
said he spoke to Officer Dolan, who saw him at this address. And I'm going to get on a stand and say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And agent whoever is going to say, well, that's what he told me, and that's what I wrote down. Now I have to sweat, is the jury going to believe me, or are they going to believe FBI agent so-and-so?
Schmuckatelli.
Correct. So that was my concern. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. I've got everything to lose, nothing to gain, and this is illegal, it's immoral, it's unethical. I want nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Hence,
Woo.
And
Perfect.
Tim, to go one step further, OPR is the Office of Professional Responsibility.
Your version of IA.
Exactly. When they did their investigation, I didn't FOI it, but a reporter for the Journal Enquirer, Alex Wood, filed a Freedom of Information request, got a copy of a heavily redacted OPR investigation. And the OPR investigators, when they cited that case, as a footnote, said, we never contacted Officer Dolan from the police department. And I'm thinking, I resolved this with a 10-minute phone call. You never even contacted this guy to verify that he never had this conversation with anyone? Why would you not take that one step that would take you all of
it's
10 minutes?
And it's so insulting when they give you one of those reports and there's more black magic marker on it than anything else. And
Than
you're
words.
like, why the fuck would you even give me this?
But the thing is, Jimmy, obviously you do not want to know the answer to that question if you're not asking that question. Because it only proves that I'm telling the truth and that the agent is lying. And that's what it came down to.
Damn.
They did not want to figure out who did it because somebody
They
was
didn't
going to
know who
lose
did
their
it.
job over it.
Yeah.
the moment you mentioned this financial incentive, right away I thought, at the very minimum, it seems unethical and maybe immoral.
You're not selling cars, bro.
Right.
You're not
I
selling
I
fucking
understand the
Cadillacs.
strategy of it, like in the private sector.
Yes,
Right.
that's why I said you're not selling Cadillacs,
Right.
motherfucker.
But when you're saying the more people that you can arrest and the more warrants you can get, you increase your chances of either getting an out-and-out check or getting a raise, which is the same as getting a check. And it's like, really? How about an award? How about a certificate? How about something?
How about a parking spot for a month?
Exactly, employee of the month or whatever. But to say here's some money for it,
No.
you're going to bring out the worst in people.
You're gonna
as
bring
soon
out the
as you do
ugly.
that.
It always does.
Right. It's going to compromise people's ethical code if they think they can make more money than their buddy.
It's like the financial industry to me. Like a lot of these,
Yes,
like annuities and like some of these
sure.
brokerages and stuff.
Boiler rooms.
I know, guys, but I don't know how many vacations he's been on, him and his family, for selling out these items that are no good to the consumer.
Correct.
Well, not always, but
Well, they're of marginal value to the consumer,
That's
but they're of major value to the company.
Bullshit. So,
no room for law enforcement.
what year did you retire out?
2009.
Oh, yeah. You want the big handshake?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost a lot of good officers in 2009 because they had the time on, and they're like later.
Yeah.
And
I'd have been happy to stay longer if I was actually doing work that I still enjoyed.
but it was that golden handshake was attractive though.
6% out of your pension for signing a piece of paper.
Dude, that's
I'm leaving in 6 months. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I didn't have the time for it, but I remember guys that did. I was like, "Dog, I ain't mad at you." They're like, "Yeah, I got to go."
If you remember, that's the last one they ever gave.
Well, I remember. I think it was Jackass Rolling. They said, "Oh, this thing, it doesn't help us. It hurts us, and all this stuff."
That's true though.
It is because it's because you do get rid of a lot of weight at the top.
You do. You're losing a lot of experience,
especially when they're at that time they're trying to play the tier 1, tier 2 game.
Yes, and they're still doing.
Because I got a guy at the gym. He says his sister-in-law, she's tier 1 all the way, and I forgot where she works. And I'm like, she's still in there.
Isn't that crazy?
And I'm like, dude, she's going to work for $8 an hour.
Well, that's the problem.
Go home.
Yes, yeah.
Go home. I'm like, you're going. Like one of my old captains, I remember he told me, shout out Bobby, and he said that his wife when they did his numbers, she's like, you're going to work for $11 an hour.
Yes.
She goes, you're telling me you can't get a job for 12? So he goes, are you serious? He sat down and looked at it. He goes, dude, I went to HR that week.
Oh yeah, they're not making minimum wage at that point.
And I'm like, you're going to work for, you're putting your job at risk because you never know what's going to happen. It's like, dude, take your bat and ball, go home and find something else.
Walmart and make more money.
Find something else. That's what his wife told him. He's like, you're going to work for $11 an hour and risking your life and your pension every day. Yep. She's like, leave, and he did.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think it becomes our identity, and whether it's out of habit or the fact.
I don't know. I'm gonna
benefits too.
I'm gonna quote my boy Ramon.
Yeah.
My boy Ramon always says, "Yo, this is what I do, not who I am."
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean. And I see guys that dude, that uniform is everything.
Oh yeah,
it's not everything to me,
the
bro.
idea of giving up that battle gun is just.
I'm sorry, dude. You can ask these guys, man. Motherfucker, on a Friday, I'm having a Squamish with a rum punch. I don't need it. I don't need the validation. And oh my God.
No, I miss it, but I just miss the satisfaction of doing work that I thought was significant.
And people ask me, do I miss it? I always say one thing, and I stole it from Bob Starkman. Shout out to Bob Starkman. I always say, I don't miss the circus, but I miss some of the clowns. And you're right. I do miss some of the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And some of the shit talking, because some of the guys were major league varsity shit talkers. We had a lot of laughs. But, do I miss the freaking answering to a guy who fucking had no job knowledge and because who he married or who the fuck he golfs with on the time off? I don't miss that. Yeah. And that's why, I called it quits. And, but yeah, man, like I said, there's, I had a retirement party. I did 20 years and we had it here. We had about 70 heads here.
Nice.
You know how many people I invited from my job? He left.
The biggest employer in the state of Connecticut.
Biggest employer. How many people you think from my employer I invited?
10. 6. Okay. That wasn't too far off.
My own mother said, my own mother, 5'1", 112 pounds. She goes, wow, you work 20 calendars in a place and you only hold 6 people in regard. She goes, boy, kid, I messed up with you somewhere. My own mother.
Yeah.
Because that's the only people that I really trusted. And everybody else, I hate to say, townies and family. I had a ton of townies here and, people that had nothing to do with the job. Nothing, I had some law enforcement here, but I left.
Yeah. Well, when I left, management had a huge retirement party at the office, except I wasn't invited.
Yeah, they forgot to invite me.
You're kidding me.
That's bullshit.
They were celebrating my departure.
Yeah.
I just wasn't. I just wasn't invited to it.
That mother.
You know what?
Exactly.
Sure, man.
Exactly.
You didn't miss
Thank
anything.
God he left.
You did you, brother. You did you. You did it with integrity and dignity. And so, one big question that we
Sure.
always ask on this show.
Yep.
This is our magic phone booth.
Okay.
This is a phone booth from actually 1956. Took me almost 2 years to restore it.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I was eyeballing it when I walked
Yeah,
in. I was like,
yeah.
oh, I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah, I'm a nerd like that.
That's cool.
But we like to say if you could go in there and pick up that phone and talk to the 20-year-old Greg Dillon,
Oof.
what would you tell him to do different? Something, nothing? You get a second, brother. You get a second. We'll drink. You can think about it. We'll
No,
drink
I
while
mean,
you
you
think,
know, I
brother.
mean, I
I'm
thought
not. We're not
about it.
pressuring you, bro. You know.
No. I mean, the funny thing is, Jimmy, that you know, when I speak at usually libraries or an occasional organization.
We got a couple of books here. We ain't as good as a library. We got a couple of books.
But I mean, almost invariably at the end, somebody will say, you know, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything different, or would you do it? And you know, I always think back and I'm like, under the circumstances, I don't really know what I didn't really feel like I had another real option. Now, of course, the option was to go along with what was going on.
Go along to get along.
Exactly. But I'm thinking that was an easy choice for me, because there's no way I could tolerate what was taking place. And the thing is, I mean, I had 7 documented examples of it. When I read the OPR investigation, they said between me, Cumnick, and Fredo, we had filed 56. Well, we didn't file, but agents had filed 56 UFAPs off of our cases. I never got to see those other 49. So there could have been 56 falsified affidavits and not 7. And I don't know it. And I'll never know it probably, because I'll never get to see those. But my point is, I tell people, you know, it's like driving down a road and it's not a fork in the road, it's a T intersection. You know, there's no sort of going to the right or sort of going to the left. You're either going a hard left or a hard right. If you take a hard left, you are going along with the falsified affidavits, you know, misleading the court. Mm-hmm. Or you take a hard right and you say, I'm throwing a challenge flag. I'm not going along with this, and I'm calling you out on it. I said, even after what I went through, I would do it again. I said, because I can't see myself saying, let's pretend I don't see what's going on here. I'll go along with the idea that we can mislead a prosecutor and a judge on an official document and swear to it under oath. No way.
You wasn't for sale.
Correct. And, you know, it's a slippery slope to integrity, because once you start to tolerate that, you can tolerate a lot of things and justify a lot of things that are illegal. So no, I wasn't going to go that route.
They say it all starts small, right? They say it all starts small.
Right. Well, you know, another thing, and of course this is small also, but you see a lot of times now in the news, you know, people are you know, whatever they want to say, they're juking the stats, they're playing the numbers, you know, they're fudging the statistics to keep crime rates, you know, low, or, you know, crime categories low, so they can keep saying, oh yeah, we have a reduction again this year, we reduced crime again this year. Of course you haven't. Mm-hmm. You're just changing the way you describe or classify crimes. When I ran my fugitive squad independent of the fugitive task force, you know, I had basically 3 categories. Well, maybe 4. Open cases, cases that we closed by arrest, cases that were closed otherwise. So some other department caught them or they got killed. So that was basically it. So we tracked all of our cases, but I did it honestly. If we made the arrest, that was one category. If the person was taken into custody some other way or killed, that was another category, or was open and pending. On the fugitive task force, if Jimmy was a New Haven detective and he opened up 10 cases that week, and 5 of them got picked up by New Haven PD during the course of routine police work, the coordinator called all 5 of those fugitive arrests for this task force. And I'm thinking, no, we arrested 1 guy this week out of those 10, not 5. but it inflated the numbers.
Yeah.
So anytime any fugitive case got arrested by any kind of arrest, motor vehicle stop or domestic or whatever, he called it one of our arrests. It wasn't. So that was just another example of playing fast and loose with the numbers in an effort to make yourself look more effective than you actually are.
So you were around when what's his name got arrested in New Haven?
Billy White?
Billy White.
Yes.
Because obviously what I do, yeah, Billy White, man. I remember when that went down, they set him up pretty.
I'll tell you something.
They set him up pretty.
Interesting. There was a New Haven police officer that died not in the line of duty, and I worked closely with his brother. So there was a service in Guilford at the church, and I wasn't directly involved with the investigation. I was aware of the investigation through an associate of mine, and I am in the church. Billy White and his crew are behind me. I know, like in less than 24 hours, they're all going to be arrested at their homes. And during the sign of peace, I'm shaking hands with him and everyone in his crew. And I'm thinking to myself, you have no idea that in about 20 hours, you're going to be getting a knock on your door that you have never expected in your life.
You gave him the baci di tutti baci. Yeah, I remember when that went down. That was
that the guy that Jose was?
Roger that. Yeah, our buddy got tied up with that, and they dirtied him. Our friend, they
dragged a lot
dirtied
of
him.
people in with him.
Yeah, man, he dirtied a friend of ours, and a friend of ours got home one day, and his wife's cleaning out his jacket and finds a roll. He's like, "What?" And and they're like, "No." And then when it all went down, he told them, he goes, "When I try to come forward, they told me, yeah, right." And they kicked me out of the office.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even hear him out because, this guy walked on water.
Oh, absolutely.
And the reason I knew about it, because being involved in the BEA side, I knew during the day he was out there chasing. He was working for BEA companies chasing their dude when he should have been on the city's
He
dime.
was working for the Jacobs.
Yeah, Roger that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And he was chasing him around, on city time. And it's just
if you will allow me just to read one little short.
go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
At the beginning of the book, I identify a handful of stereotypical people that you will come across.
Oh, I love that.
In law enforcement.
You know, funny, where I work, we call it we had one thing called BFN, big for nothing.
Yeah.
Big guys that were just big. And we had the shiny penny. That means, yeah, you look good. The dude's in shape, always with a power shake in his hand, fucking good haircut. And the dude lazy as hell.
Yeah.
And, I was lead instructor for defensive tactics. And I remember one time boss goes, "Hey, what about this guy?" And I go,
Yeah.
"Now while I'm here."
All show, no go.
And he looks at me, he goes, "What's wrong with him?" And I said, "Look, you're a boss. He can't get enough sirs out of his mouth with you." I go, "I know his worth." I said, "I don't want him. Please don't force me to have him." He goes, "Nope, I won't." And
you're lucky you had a boss like that.
And no, my boss goes,
Some of
"All
them
right."
aren't as gracious.
And no, he was like, and I said, "You're a boss. He can't get enough sirs out of his mouth for you." And when I read that, the profiles that you did, oh, dude, believe me, I loved it. So go ahead, hit it.
No. So when you're mentioning him, he comes right to mind. I said, the cowboy, a close cousin of the poser. This is the person who epitomizes the adage, "The ends justify the means." They believe whatever action they take is for the greater good, so no corner is too big to cut when necessary. Oftentimes, the person leads a charmed life and is looked upon favorably by management, as they're the big playmakers, the person who can get things done, the go-to guy. It is almost always a male. They eventually crash and burn, at which point the cowboy is abandoned and everyone agrees after the fact that it was only a matter of time.
And then all those supervisors turn on them and they don't want to know him.
Absolutely.
Boy,
they all wash their hands.
Boy, they wash their hands of
I
him.
knew he was going to be a problem at some point.
Yeah.
I could see this coming.
Proud
They never
child.
stopped them, but they could always see it coming.
We used to say they'll create they'll create monsters and they'll let them run until further notice. But then when it goes down, oh, that wasn't my dog that bit you. And I seen that, and you see, like we said, man, when shit goes down, everybody wants to line themselves on the winning team. Nobody wants to be on the outskirts. Nobody wants to be ostracized. Everybody still wants to go to the cookouts. Everybody wants to get invited to the fucking christenings and all that. I did 20 years. I never went to one Christmas party. And I had a big shot supervisor ask me one day. He goes, "Hey, I see you haven't bought a ticket for the Christmas party."
Boy.
And I go, "Nope." And he goes, "With all the overtime you work, I know you ain't broke."
Yeah.
And I said, "Sir, I don't buy a ticket not because of financial hardship."
Right.
And he goes, "So why don't you go?" And I go, "You really think you want me there with a little truth serum in me?" And I said, "Because if I go there and I have a little truth serum, I'm gonna let some of these guys know what I think of them." And he goes, "Hey, thanks for not showing up. Take care, brother." And he laughed at me, and like I said, I was just, you know what I mean? It's like I said, I invited 6 people to my retirement party. You know what I mean? And my dad always taught us, be careful who you eat with and who you drink with.
Yeah.
And I got, I was, I see like some guys, young guys, they get on the job and they forget about everybody else and nobody else needs nothing. And I used to tell guys at the academy, I go, "Yo, man, if you got solid friends, man," I go, don't fucking forget about them like they ain't shit.
Exactly.
And I'm like, "Dude, yeah, I come here, I get a paycheck every other Thursday, dude, but my friends are still my friends."
Yeah, you got to have your support system.
And guess what, dude? I've been gone 10 years now. Guess what? I still rely on certain key motherfuckers that they're on the e-board with me. I have my e-board. But yeah, some people, like I said, I think you lack identity when you roll that way.
Yes.
I think you lack identity.
Oh, and then you're afraid to leave because that's
then you're losing
your
it.
whole life. That's your whole world.
But yeah, Tim, any last questions for Mr. Dillon here?
No, man.
It was worth the wait for 2 years, huh? The fucking guy made his wait. It was worth the wait.
Yeah.
I know. He don't put out that quick. This fucking guy's a hard sell.
Jimmy, I had one thing before we close.
Go ahead, brother.
I had somebody a couple of times now say, why aren't there more whistleblowers? Why don't more people come forward to call out, wrongdoing? And I said, and so the question was posed to me on a radio show. Pastor Will Marotti had me on his show at the time. And he asked the same question. And I said, "So Pastor," I said, "if you invited me to your congregation to speak," I said, and I was trying to, I was speaking on behalf of a leper colony. I said, there's one, I forget the name of it now. It's off the coast of Hawaii. It's been there like forever. I said, and I got up there and explained the work that we do and, the hardships of the work. And I said, how many people here would raise their hand in your congregation if I said, could you make any sort of a donation to what we do, the work we do? I said, what do you think the response would be? He said, I would like to think that everybody would raise their hand to contribute at least something. Mm-hmm. I said, now if my next question was, we do internships there and we will pay all your expenses to fly there, stay there, and come back. Can I see a show of hands?
I'd be climbing over each other.
Oh, no. To go to a leper colony? No. My whole point was everybody would now all of a sudden have their hands in their pockets because I don't mind throwing a couple of coins in the basket, but I'm not risking going over there and getting leprosy. Yeah. And so the point I was making with them was, in theory, people support the idea of being a whistleblower. Mm. But given the choice of actually being one or not, most people are going to say, yeah, I don't think I'm.
It's a garbage dump. Everyone wants to throw out their garbage. Nobody wants us to dump in their city, their town.
Right. Yeah. In theory, it sounds good. If you think about actually having to do it yourself and you say, I'm going to be spending all my money on an attorney and I may lose my job. And I'm an outcast when I show up at work. Not for me.
I go to work, they're putting banana peels in front of me every fucking day, trying to get me to fucking slip up.
I mean, I had obscene messages on my voicemails at work, and I'm working for the chief state attorney's office. So.
And that's ballsy, right? To call somebody in that kind of position and leave them something slick. That's ballsy.
It is.
It is. I will ask one more question.
Sure, Tim.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Why the book?
So, almost 3 reasons for the book. Initially, I'm half Italian. I have a pretty big family, and when I finally retired, and I have a lot of growing up in New Haven and being from Connecticut most of my life, I have a lot of friends, fortunately. So I would find myself whatever, a baptism, at a wedding, at a 4th of July party, at a birthday party, at an anniversary, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes somebody would come up and say, "Oh yes, I remember when you had that lawsuit. I remember reading about it in the paper, seeing it on the news. Whatever happened with that?" And a friend of mine or a cousin would say, "Oh yeah, that got settled." And I'd be like, "Yeah, no, actually, there was a jury trial." I said it was a 10-day trial. "Oh really? I thought it got settled." I said, "Well, the second one was settled." "What do you mean there was a second one after your first one?" And I'm thinking, this was only like 10 years ago. You're my cousin. You don't even remember this? So it bothered me to the point where I said, you know what? I want to write an accounting of what took place, because somebody once said to me, gossip uncorrected eventually becomes gospel.
Mm.
And it's like
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And I'm like, if I don't tell this story factually, who knows what it's going to sound like in another 10 years, So I said, you know what? I'm going to make it a point of putting it down chronologically, factually, accurately, so there's no guessing or trying to imagine what happened.
Nothing gets lost in interpretation.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But then while I was writing it, I had some police officers, some people who weren't police officers, contact me and say, "Hey, I got this situation at work and I just want to run it by you." So I'm thinking, the book could be a little bit of a roadmap for people that find themselves sort of at a ethical crossroads or a moral dilemma.
Conundrum.
Correct. Where they kind of think they know what they should do, but they're not really sure they want to do it. So I thought the book would maybe give them a bit of a insight as to, the positives and the negatives, the hazards of stepping forward and telling the truth when it's unpopular. So I thought, well, maybe it'll serve that purpose. And then finally, I figured, hey, let it be a warning to these managers and supervisors that know that there's a problem and then try to tamp it down and cover it up and make it go away. No, don't do that. It's the wrong thing to do, and there could be repercussions if you do it. So those are like my 3 motives for actually getting the book written.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, brother. Thank you so much. People, get out, get on Amazon, get on the platform.
Even better,
to
get a better price and have it signed by me if they like.
Yes, sir.
They go right to my website.
There you go. Direct to the source.
www.thinblueliebook.com.
You can lie, L-I-E.
Right, thinblueliebook.com, and that way you can say I want it dedicated to someone, or I just want it signed, or whatever, and I will mail it out to you, and you'll get it cheaper than you went through Amazon.
There you go.
You heard it here.
Your cheat code is highly unoffended. No, it's not. I just like to say that shit. All right. Thank you guys for riding with us today. Today we talked about something we never talked about on the show. He really brought something else. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, man. I appreciate it. Once again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Kirk family. Well, you know what I mean?
All right,
It sucks what happened today. Today, I'm going to compare it to Lincoln. I'm sorry. You don't believe, you think I'm wrong. Fuck off. But I'm going to compare it to the Lincoln shooting, and I think a great man went down today, and we all got our opinion. So once again, good night from the Highly Unoffended podcast. Let's try to be a better human being to each other, and good night, America, wherever you are.
It was easy. That could have gone 3.5, 4 hours.
Hey now,
Jimmy, thanks so much
hold on one second. Let me
Go ahead.